Hello everybody, it's wonderful to have this opportunity to reach out here from Brown Hall for something which I don't think has been done before. I'm delighted to be able to have with me Sam Stone. She's the president of the Alumni Association. My name, Mark Turner, I'm head of school, and we thought we would try and reach out with a conversation, a few questions, to really bring you up to date with everything that's happening in our school at this extraordinary time, the time of COVID. So we've got a few questions that we'd like to ask one another and hope to have a bit of a conversation. Sam. That
sounds wonderful. So my name is Samantha. As Mark has alluded to, I attended here at St. Michael's from 1984 and graduated in 1987.
Yeah.
And I have the pleasure actually now of returning as a parent of two girls, one who's graduating this year and a son that hopefully will be joining in September. So it's been really exciting to be part of the SMUS family again in a different capacity.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for being here and look forward to our conversation.
Yes. So why don't we start with a question that I'd love to ask you, and that would be like, how do you feel that the school and its greater community has fared in the past 12 months?
Yeah, that's a really big question, and knowing that we've only got a few minutes, I'll be succinct with my answer. But I think the first thing I'd say is that it has been a community response. It feels very much as if the different strands of our school, the alumni, our parents, our students, our faculty, our board, have been able to pull together in extraordinary circumstances. So I know that our students particularly are fed up with being told that they're fortunate to be back in school. There's a lot that they're missing about sport, about music, about being able to be relaxed and to socialize in one another's company. But actually, we have been able to get the vast majority of our students back in school since September. We've been able to get some really good, rigorous learning going on. And our community has enjoyed being together. So for sure there have been changes. The students will say that there are things that they're really missing, but we've been able to keep going. And I think that's the key thing. As I speak to other heads of school across Ontario, across Canada, across the world, actually we've been remarkably fortunate. So we're thankful for that, but really look forward to being back relaxed and normal at some stage in the not too distant future.
Wonderful. I would absolutely agree with you. I've been privy to a lot of conversations as part of my own role on the board, but speaking as a parent, it has been wonderful. I think we missed 1 week of school and the school responded amazingly. The faculty have been incredible at making sure that the kids' education continued. It was Zoom school in every room of my house.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic, and knowing that the children finished the year on a solid basis and were ready to step in when the school opened its doors again in September has been amazing. And yes, it's a little bit different everywhere with our masks and our social distancing, but as a parent, knowing that they're here and they're safe and that so much planning has been taken place over the past while to make sure that the education and the safety of the children is paramount has been outstanding. Yeah. And as an alumni, I am so proud that we can support that in that capacity.
Well, thank you. I know back to March last year when the first, the seriousness of COVID was really beginning to dawn on everybody. Faculty had to pivot to remote learning with only about a week's planning. So our entire curriculum was put online, and we were very unsure as to how that would go down. But actually, many parents came together and converted kitchens and garages and spare rooms to studies and libraries and whatever. And we got through it. I think parents now have a better understanding of what teaching 1,000 teenagers actually requires. But we have got through it, and I think there are lessons that we can say that we've learnt that will stand us in good stead in the future.
Well, I think what technology has also met us with sounds like we have amazing opportunities in the future.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's an exciting time. It's an interesting time, but it's an exciting time.
Yeah. Thank you.
What have you heard from our global community about the challenges faced in the past 12 months or during the pandemic?
Yes, we have. We have what I refer to as the alumni diaspora, the broader alumni base around the world, almost 10,000 members of that community. And we've heard from individuals in many different countries, many different contexts. And some have been in really difficult circumstances. I remember when the pandemic numbers were going up, we heard from people in New York where life was really difficult for a while. But in typical SMU style, most people seem to be resilient. Many are adapting. Interestingly, things like our alumni and society AGM, we've had more people contribute to that because everyone can come in on Zoom, they don't have to physically be here. So we feel that we have been able to make a connection, even though it's been very different.
I would agree with you. The resilience and what my colleague Neil Mulholland, who is 1988, referred to was the self-sufficiency of alumni. And I think that's a real testament to the character that is produced at a school like this. We have been actively searching for alumni to represent under the Distinguished Alumni Award, which we took on a different angle this year and looked at how alumni were contributing through this pandemic and all the different capacities and needs that have come up with the COVID-19 crisis. And what was really interesting about getting people to be, or getting alumni to be nominated for this award is that there is a general humbleness about not tooting their own horn, or who is nominated to toot the horn for other individuals, which has been quite interesting. And yes, I would say adapting is incredible for people to be able to do on a pivot, and the resilience is definitely noted from the way that we have not necessarily heard any disaster stories.
Yeah.
So it's been good news we've been hearing and not negative news.
Yeah, and I'd say I've detected something of a SMUS sense of humour. I don't know what that says about the school that our alumni have all been to, but in times of adversity, most people seem to be able to keep their sense of humour and to remain relatively positive. So that's great.
If it was John Shafter, it would be Smoomer, because everything was SMU in front of it.
Okay.
Smooper, Smoomer.
Anyway. I like that, sense of humour, Smoomer.
Smoomer, yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. So what kind of base have we created through this resilience and through this new technology and through this new stream of communication?
Yeah.
So it's brought the world a little bit closer in many ways.
Yeah, for sure.
How important is it for the school and you as the head of school to have opportunities to continue to engage with alumni?
Yeah, I think that's crucial, that we are seen to be doing everything that's reasonable to continue to want to reach out and communicate what's going on in our school. There have been many very sad cancellations. We know that last year's alumni weekend events all had to be cancelled. I think sadly for this year, for 2021, that's likely to be the same outcome. But we can look forward to 2022 as an opportunity when people can come together. If that's possible, that could be a fantastic event, because of course it'll be the celebration of our 50th anniversary of St. Michael's School and University School coming together. So that, if it works out, will be a wonderful time to re-engage. Contact with our alumni is important for us, partly because this is a competitive world amongst independent schools, and we need as many of our 10,000 cheerleaders out there speaking for us as we can possibly muster. We have all sorts of interesting plans to engage with our alumni in terms of professional development, giving our students in the school the opportunity to access really good, relevant information about the professions that they may go to, and certainly the universities that many will want to move on to. So I think that connection is important. We're also very dependent on our alumni for advancement, for supporting school plans and our Floreat strategic plan, so that's a significant thing as well. And this sense of being a family. Families, for good or bad, communicate with one another, and I think having that connection with the alumni gives the faculty, the staff, the parents and the students that are working here day in, day out, a sense of identity, really, to know that we're part of a bigger global family community.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with you. I was fortunate to attend really the last two alumni school events that happened before the pandemic sunk in.
Yeah.
One was in Vancouver and one was here in Victoria. And I'm glad that I was able to attend those, because it was that going out on a high,
yeah.
really, for the alumni, watching the quartet play. That they were incredibly talented, and there was a singer from the alumni that one of the Cunninghams, not sure which Cunningham, but one of the Cunninghams who sang and led everybody through Vivat, which was quite poignant. I also appreciated the connections for the alumni that were really reinforced by the Remembrance Day service. And that would have to be the first Remembrance Day service that I was able to engage in fully, and it was much more emotional really than years past, just with the cinematography and the connections that were brought into the past with all the photos of the young men who gave their lives during the wars, and the symbolism of today's students, and and even the beautiful way in which the middle school choir was displayed on the field that brought everybody back to the school. I thought that was an incredible connection moment for the alumni and the greater school and the parents, and just to really connect.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that symbolism, and I'm intrigued. I'm really intrigued to see what happens with the Jubilee, because I think we've set some benchmarks as a school for what could be done for those that aren't able to travel. We exist in a little bit of a vaccine euphoria, thinking that we're going to be that this is all going to be in our past soon, but the reality is it might not be. So we will have to look after our older alumni and make sure that their safety is paramount before opening our doors and bringing everybody back. But technology, the archives, blending it all in, making the Jubilee another event that can amplify the fact that this school is known for how it adapts and known how it's for its resilience, and celebrating even a momentous occasion in our history where two schools came together and blended for survival, and that was adaptability. And then 7 years later we adapt again, and there are girls, lo and behold, this institution goes co-ed. So many things to celebrate about how the school can continue on into the future.
Yeah.
In the same vein of resilience.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. As I look back and after researching SMUS history, it's very clear that coming together back in 1971 was the spark, the catalyst that has ignited 50 years of pretty much continuous growth, where the reputation and the physical size of the school have gone on growing. So I think it was a remarkable event when it happened, and it's quite right that we spend as much time planning for how we can celebrate that. Within the school here, we've now got a new verb, to jubilize, and everything that happens next year will be jubilized. And the idea is to bring a bit more razzmatazz to standard school events and just make it a little bit special. And I think current students will really appreciate that after what they've been through the last year or so.
And I think past students will enjoy seeing where it's come from. Because it's changed significantly. I don't know, well, I've seen a lot of my peers from my own year come back, and we were here, I believe, for our last big event, which must have been our 20-year reunion, or 25, yeah, it's 30, maybe it was 30. Yeah. Oh, but just walking on the campus each time as a group and going, wow, look at this is so different. I mean, there's so little physically in some ways. I mean, there's the big features of this campus. There's the field, there's Reynolds House, there's the view as you come down, in that initial feeling of nostalgia as you drive down the sweeping driveway. But then there's all the exciting things that have happened, since Challoner and International House have gone, about the innovation that has been created behind the facade. It's quite fascinating. So it's going to be really exciting to put this all into the terms where the Jubilee celebrates what could be with the future and where we've come from the past.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to emphasize. The school over 50 years has changed, it has innovated. It's by necessity a very different school than that which was in existence in 1971. But I always like to take the opportunity to explain to our broader alumni community, actually our values haven't changed at all. I think the students in the school today are as committed to those as they ever were within the modern context. And I think that's an important point to make, that there's still the spirit of SMU, the atmosphere, the philosophy, the ethos of SMU is something that anybody coming back from generations ago, I think, would still be able to identify with.
Well, and as an alumni returning as a parent and watching what is open to your children for once they come through the doors and to the exit point. So my eldest came in at grade 9 and was just eyes open. The first thing she said to me when she got back into the car when I drove away from her first day was, "Thank you so much for sending me here." Yeah. So much. And now we're at the kind of like the exit point for her, where she's going to be jumping to my side on the alumni, but the exit point where she has all these opportunities opening up. You know, the offers coming in for admissions from all these amazing universities and programs, and knowing that she's going out into the world so well prepared. It's really exciting.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, just on that point, we have 121 children of alumni in the school today, and that is about 20% more than it was 5 years ago. And that's really a trend we want to encourage, that the alumni do see it as a good choice, a wonderful choice and opportunity for their children. So we hope that the generations will continue to see us as a
well,
good chance.
even next year. So I was here last weekend with my third child, third out of 4, third child who came for his testing and is looking for his opportunity to enter the SMU family. And during that testing, I learned that there are 4 of us that I know of that all will have children, 4 alumni that will have children in that same year. So it's just really fun.
Yeah.
Just to see that circle close.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what can you share about the Floreat strategic plan? How is that coming along, and how does that relate to this campus master plan that has been in the midst of being created?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to talk about that, because I get really excited about it. It was back last year that after a very broad and comprehensive consultation phase, the board unanimously approved Floreat, our 10-year strategic plan to take us to 2030. Floreat, of course, means to flourish, and that's our ambition for the school, that it should continue to flourish in 2030 exactly as it is here today. So that's been a great process. Within that strategic plan, there's so much that I could tell you about. I think a couple of the highlights would be, we're committed to embed principles of sustainability into our plan. The board have just recently announced the appointment of a new sustainability committee. It's going to be chaired by an alumna, Catherine Tweedy. I think that's now public news. So she will be leading us down that journey. We're doing a lot of work on DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion. And there's a working group and an advisory group that has been formed to guide us down a path to greater respect for all people, and there are alumni involved in that. That's another great thing. We have our campus master plan, and this is really designed to make sure that our facilities in 2030 are fit for purpose for our students, and we've already now begun to focus on some priorities. Priorities will include refurbishment at the junior school and the middle school. It will mean a commitment to STEAM projects, STEAM being science, technology, engineering, arts and maths. And this will give us the facilities to allow our students to thrive in those areas. Robotics, artificial intelligence, technology are all areas that our parents particularly told us are important. And we also want to focus on reinvigorating our heritage spaces. We're sitting in one of them here, Brown Hall, and this whole block we hope to be able to bring back into life. At the moment it's used for strange events like the one that we're in at the moment, but to really bring it back into life as a central showpiece for our school. And we think that we may be able to recreate it almost back to the original design for what the hall was intended for. So there's a lot there to be excited by, and we're already making good progress, I think, in the planning stages.
Well, that is exciting. I know that, like I mentioned before, there are certain landmarks that you really associate when you're coming down, and having opportunities, like you said, to refurbish some of them rather than to recreate them. I still miss Harvey House, the original Harvey House, which is now Science Building. But even looking at facilities such as the Wenman Pavilion that were created, actually that was here made when I was here in the late 80s. Do we have any plans for these kind of sites? I know that's a question we get asked quite a lot by other alumni who have affinity to buildings that maybe have some nostalgia to them as well.
I'd say on that one of the things that we're most keen to preserve and protect is what some people call the spirit of place here. It is a beautiful environment. The architecture that's been built over 50 and more years is high quality stuff. It has a really good feel as learning space, and we're very keen to protect that. So preserving what we've got is a major part of the campus master plan. The Wenman Pavilion, we are going to make an investment in, and we hope to bring that back into usable space really quite quickly, actually. I don't think that that's going to be a major physical project, but we're hoping to move on with a modernization of that next year.
So essentially we're talking about the same ethos of values of SMU education, maintaining those same morals and bringing it on, and our buildings maintaining the same degree, where we're going to acknowledge the same spirit, but hey, earthquake, future, repurposing, reinvention. It's mirroring the same attributes.
Yeah, and it's interesting, as I've had the opportunity to visit many other school campuses across Canada and here on Vancouver Island, this site, and including the junior school site down at Victoria Avenue, this is a really special place. I think part of the attachment that our alumni community have with the school is because this was a special place for them. And we really want to protect that, for it to be beautiful, to be atmospheric, and to provide the facilities to allow aspiring students to want to learn at their own speed.
Yeah, 100%. The nostalgia is definitely something I believe in your journey as an alumni. You get to a certain point in your life and you look back and what made you happy, and definitely I would say that these sites are so integral to that. Yeah. They're most heritage sites for your own life story. So. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love all that, and coming from the UK, where heritage and history in schools is a big thing, I'm all for trying to protect that.
But you've got centuries. We're talking about 50 years, or we'd be talking about 500.
Well, within the Canadian context, our school does have a really rich and long history, and it is important that we protect that. And just in terms of small steps, you mentioned the archive. The archive needs to be reinvigorated as a space. In fact, the steps leading up to the archive.
I saw their back.
Well, they fell down, and we've just a
That's a bad metaphor.
A small project. We've modernised them and put safe steps back. So again, using that space constructively, but we do have plans to really bring the archive alive as part of Floreat.
Well, it would be great if we could manage to wrangle the alumni to help with that, because the archives are that's our history. That's the part that steps off once you leave. It becomes the archives. We're kind of archival in our own way, but I love the fact we have an archives. Like Mr. Wilson started that, the Wilson Archives. So it's wonderful that it is started. There's a foothold, but the opportunities that exist now with technology, and again, this plan for the campus master plan to really highlight where we've come from and where we're going is kind of interesting.
It really is.
Yeah. Part of SMU thriving is having a healthy admissions process and choosing your right students and having the right students come to you, really. So how has the pandemic affected SMU admissions? That's
a great question, and the answer is that we're where we're at the moment, really very thankful that we've been able to get through to this place pretty much intact, and actually very optimistic about the future. So just a couple of factors around that. Last year, our day attrition rate was the lowest ever, which was wonderful. We have more day students in the school now than at any stage in the school's history. The total school roll is over 1,000 students, which for us is really big. We don't want to get any bigger. We use this phrase quality, not quantity, to guide us in our admissions plan into the future. This particular year, we were hit hard because a number of our boarding students simply weren't able to travel back to our school. Visa restrictions, quarantine restrictions, all sorts of travel uncertainties meant that we started the academic year with fewer boarders here on site than we would have liked. The good news is that over the year things have opened up and more have returned. We're now at about 214 boarders. We would like to be at around 250. So we're recruiting now for next year, and the signs are really good. I think we're going to get back to almost full capacity on boarding. But the day admissions are so strong that we're really grateful for that.
Yeah, well, I can understand why the day admissions would be so strong, since you are getting a full education. Yeah. Even the sports capacity, which has been sidelined with the lack of competition this year in all of the schools. We've kind of gone back to the 80s with the games and the intramurals that happen after school, and that's been really interesting in itself, because I know that my daughters got to do things that they've never done before, like they're playing field hockey against boys. So it's another testament to the resiliency and adaptation of the school to pivot and survive in face of a pandemic by offering a program that everybody wants. And I think that is the success of the day student program. I am drinking the Kool-Aid here a little bit because I actually have children in it. But I really have to say I was impressed at the board level with how the school rallied to support the boarders, that there was some real perseverance, with the planning, how to keep them safe, how to keep the community safe, while they were traveling in with all the quarantine options, because I was a boarder, and it is quite daunting to be sent to another city or to send your child to another city and not knowing when you're going to be able to access them, because you're kind of on blind faith. But what a landing point. What a landing point that from the minute they arrived back at the school, they were quarantined, they were saved. The planning in the boarding facilities is designed thus to keep them even safer. Christmas time, and it really was amazing.
Yeah, no, I know our admissions team and the pastoral support team have really tried to make the boarding experience as good and as strong as we can, because those students, it was like an assault course of different obstacles just to get back here. But many of them did, and I think they feel really connected. We talk about this community, having committed to it so strongly, they're certainly part of that. I would say, just from my daily routine as a head of school, I've missed competitive sport. That being able to watch some soccer or field hockey or rugby out here, as all our alum will attest, that's a key part of being at SMU, and to be in the one of the sports halls for a basketball final, the noise and the school spirit that's generated by that is something that everybody takes energy from, I think. So we have missed it. I was talking to some rugby players just yesterday, and for some reason this year we have a crop of massive grade 11 and 12s. They would have been an outstanding SMUS side. So they're really disappointed they won't have the same opportunities as previous generations. But they're hoping to get a bit of a sevens season, and we'll see where we go. But perhaps they'll have to come back as alum and have a game at that stage.
The year you missed. The replay of 2021. Why not?
But we'll see. So adaptation, but we're thriving despite that.
So this has been an interesting year, and an interesting year in the sense that many families and everybody worldwide has been affected financially to some degree. So we do have resilience and we do have adaptability, but to some extent there's a bit of a stop and pivot move that happens.
Yeah.
So how has that affected St. Michael's or St. Michael's University School, I'll refer to its full title, how has that affected for fundraising, especially for such important criteria such as financial aid?
Yeah, well, back to March when the sense of anxiety about what impact the pandemic was going to have was really high. We were, along with many other institutions, really concerned about how that was going to play out in terms of the finances of the school. And very quickly, the board provided extra funds for financial aid. The Parents Auxiliary did a fantastic job. They immediately made a substantial amount available for the school on matched funding, so the school was given the job of matching that. And we launched a campaign to ensure that no student would have to leave the school because of the impact of COVID-19. And that, within a month, that campaign achieved its target. And collectively, as a community, we can say that no student has had to leave the school because of COVID. So that was just a wonderful crisis. People came together, some money was generated, and we were able to achieve the aim. You know, looking forward, a school like SMUS with big ambitions to be a major player through to 2030 and beyond, that is a vision that takes money to achieve, it takes finance to achieve. So there will be the launch of a capital campaign at some stage once we've been able to assess the priorities. And part of that will be financial aid. We're really keen on this idea of diversity to ensure that our school remains an option for as many people as we can possibly make it available for. So that's where financial aid comes in. The VVAT Foundation, with many alum on the board of that, has good resources. It's been growing its resources, but we'd still like to have more there to invest, and then the interest from that funds students in our school.
Absolutely. I mean, it's wonderful that we were able to help that year. Yeah. You know, the unexpected March happens. Well, it happened a little later for us over here on the island than I think it happened around the rest of the world. But, you know, March happens, spring break happens, and everything is so uncertain. And all of a sudden we're able to rally and make sure that, you know, the students were able to come back, and every student that walks through this hallway is an alumni at some point, just by virtue of attending. So I think it is important for everyone to understand what their role can be in supporting students and then future alumni.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be interesting too, because that was the culmination of 1920 to 21. Here we are now in 20 to 21, and I would imagine that those needs have not ceased. Yeah. It may need to be looked at again, and that alumni and parents and generous donors should really consider the fact that we're not out of the woods yet.
Yeah. Well, we are very grateful indeed to those members of the alumni community who have given generously, and some are really passionately committed to this idea that education changes lives, it transforms opportunity, and by investing in that you really can create life-changing opportunities for generations to come. And thankfully some of our most generous benefactors really get that message, and that's how they like their money to be spent.
Yeah, I would agree, and I would almost rather get away from the word of donations and really look at it as all of these funds that come back to the school, they're really investments. Yeah. They're investments in the students, they're investments in the future, and investments in the world to come. Yeah. Because these children are going somewhere. They're going to be the adults that we celebrate, yeah, and the path makers that we celebrate. Yeah. So investing in those opportunities are pretty exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And we sometimes like to talk about this concept of generational equity, that the students in the school at the moment are benefiting from everything that everyone's done in the past. and that this generation must do what it can to ensure that the school remains a really good opportunity for people to come. So I like that idea that different generations have to support one another.
Well, low risk investment for high yield gain.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
Sure, there's financial people out there. I don't understand finances too much, but I do understand the impact of education, and that was a choice that we were willing to make for our own children as far as an investment. So.
Yeah, good, thank you. Sam, I've really appreciated the opportunity to talk with you. I think this is a historic first, that the head of school and the president of the Alumni Association have had a conversation like this. So
a public conversation.
A public conversation. So perhaps the thing I haven't asked you is, how are you enjoying being president of this vast organization around the world?
Well, it's a learning curve, and I would have to say that it's been a bit of a rebuilding of opportunities and trying to figure out where exactly the association fits in this modern day paradigm of an institution like St. Michael's University School. And definitely we have been discussing, we have a wonderful board of individuals that have volunteered their time to sit on together. Chris Devlin in '86, there's Tom Ehrlich from '88, Phil Woodcock 90, Ty Spicer 98, William Cunningham is our throwback to the '70s, and we have we call him our token millennial, and that is Matt Ashton, who is 2013, I believe.
But he's the tech guy, isn't he? He's
the tech guy, and Neil is our new addition from 1988 as well. But yeah, it's been wonderful having Matt, and he really brings us back. He brings us to the future. He's our own innovation and our adaptation, because he looks at things and he's able to help us build our website. He's been great with starting the Alumni Association Facebook page, which is different from the one that comes from the Alumni Relations Office, and the way that he does these great little interviews and gives it just a different flavor on what's going on. He interviewed all the candidates for the last election. So it was interesting for us to sort of be able to participate in a different manner from which we've been able to participate before. We're pretty excited to all the different projects that we have that we're building that also look at investing into the school for the future.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, thank you for all that you do and for your board. Thank you for your volunteers.
I hope our board grows. It would be really great to have much more of an international flavor, and definitely the technology that has caught up to us at this point.
Well, this is a great place to make a pitch. You've got about 8,000 people potentially looking at this.
Well, we really want people to participate. We want to hear their voices. We want to hear what creative opportunities that they would like to bring back to the school, because it's not just our school, it's our school, and it would be a wonderful thing for it to be much more worldwide. We always seem to have an Alumni Association board that is more Victoria based, basically because of the geolocation of the school, but reality is it's an international a springboard.
For sure.
So,
well, this is an opportunity for me to thank everybody that's tuned in and stayed with this thus far. Those of us that are working in the school here today really appreciate the support that we get from that broader extended SMUS family. So your Alumni Association is working really hard on your behalf. I think the cooperation that we're beginning to establish between us is going into a new era, and we're very positive about that. And we would just sign off by inviting you all to come back to the next series of alumni events. We hope that that's going to be coming very soon, certainly as we celebrate that 2021 to 2 Jubilee year. We want to see as many of you back here as can make it. So thanks very much indeed. And vivat to you all, and Floreat as well. Let's hope that the school flourishes through to 2030.
We might have to start teaching Latin.